One. All right, how we doing today, guys? My name is Chris Allen BGC. I'm here with Steven. Steven is a member of SSBG. He is on the Cyberducks for the Team Wars. Basically, today we are going to be building a singles team. It's a format that I don't play hardly ever. I played one match today, and that was my first singles match in 3 weeks. So it is not my forte to give any advice. So we brought in someone who's very popular. I'm gonna let him take over here for a minute, kind of just introduce himself, throw out any links he wants to throw out real quick at the intro, and then we're gonna get into the details here.
What's going on, guys? I am Steven, also known as poketechnician in the community. I play primarily singles. I have dabbled in a little bit of VGC, mostly Draft League VGC, but as I do enjoy Draft League in general. But also, like Chris mentioned, I am a singles player primarily, and I've been trying to catch up on the meta a bit. Haven't actually even downloaded the DLC yet, technically, but been trying to get some matches in on Showdown. So we have an interesting team I think we want to show you guys today, or that we're going to try and team build around, I think, specifically a couple mons, but I'm sure Chris can tell you more about that.
Yeah, so basically the way this is going to work, I gave him 2 mons 2 days ago, Galar, Corsola, and Weavile. The only 2 mons I know that are any good in singles. So I went ahead and gave him that. And if this video, if you guys like it, we'll do a couple more using different mons. And also feel free to comment if you have some suggestions. And I'm sure he'll also be doing some more content with the new series as he catches up with it. So let us know any mons you want to see built. So basically, I gave him these 2 mons. We are going to build everything. I'm going to link some showdown matches where he's going to play with the team. And I will screen share and show you the builds we're going to run on them and everything as well.
Perfect. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like you said, Weavile and Galar Corsola, some really interesting mons in the meta. I don't know if they're as top tier as you maybe think they are, or if you're just kind of playing around with that, but they are very good mons. There's no doubt about it. And the thing about the OU meta in singles right now is that you can use almost anything in terms of bringing 1 or 2 mons that aren't necessarily in the top 20 usages or whatever you have, whatever you're thinking on that. You can make a lot of things work if you have the right teammates to work around them. So yeah, I think we should just kind of delve right into that and the team building aspect of it all. But yeah.
We are going to go ahead and open up our screen share.
Perfect. So you said you played your most recent singles match.
And resuming recording. All right, cool. Yeah, I played him, and I mean, Toxapex just walled me.
Toxapex. That's that's the thing. And with the team that I have kind of been thinking about dabbling with these 2 core mons, Toxapex is always a problem.
Yeah, I actually used I did use a Weavile there. And the main reason, like, this is actually a good point to point out why I suggested Weavile beyond just, someone I know is used, was when I was looking at doing this a few days ago, and I started talking to you about it. At least what I've seen in the untiered, right? Because I'm not familiar with the tiering system, but as far as like some single stuff I'm seeing posted as in the game, I know Landorus, Thundurus, Tornadus, all 3 coming back. A lot of new dragon types.
Right.
So I figured Weavile, being a fast ice type, has priority to come back in on a switch and kind of, do a little chip damage there, fake out for good lead pressure,
right.
typical beat up flinch cheese. So I figured it offers a lot of viability as far as the current meta with so many dragon types there and it having such good speed. So that's kind of why I picked that one.
Well, the speed aspect, I think you're totally spot on. In terms of chipping things, I think that's kind of a misnomer, because what you're going to want to do with Weavile for the most part is be putting in a large amount of damage in a small amount of time. And it's all dependent on clicking the right move. Not that I'm considering choicing anything necessarily, but it can dish out the damage. Don't get me wrong. And if that's what you mean by chipping, then yes, it can definitely do that. So hopefully we can show the viewers some of that today.
All right. So we have first up, we have now when you do team building, because everyone does it a little different. Usually for me, I'll start with like the 1 mon or the 2 mon, especially in BGC because it's 4v4.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll think with, okay, what's gonna be my main mode, you know? So
Right.
like for example, when I did my my horse team, I used I said
The
I will
ice horse.
yeah. So the
Mm.
ice horse was my main weapon there. So I grabbed Dusclops to pair with it, and then to help ease with that, I took Ndidi, who's been on every single team I've made here in the past like 6 months, besides when he couldn't be because he was banned.
Right.
So I took Ndidi, and then I
Mm.
built around it. So I was really weak to fire, so in steels, right? So I needed to have a
Sure.
strong coverage for those. So for the fire end, I took Primarina just because it's super bulky. And then for the steel end, I took Cole in the back. So the Prim Cole weakness policy combo is now another option.
Sure.
And then I took, and then after I did that, what is some things that I might need help with?
Rock.
Not be, so that's where I did my Mons, and then I work on
Mm-hmm.
EVs.
Yeah, totally. And I think in terms of singles, what you said originally, I start off with something is completely correct. In singles, what you want to think about if you're not building a super stally team necessarily is, even with a super stally team actually, is what is my win con? And a lot of times in singles, that's going to be a setup sweeper and a breaker, plus some requisite pieces to that. So yeah, that's definitely a good way to go about this. And when you gave me those 2 mons, you gave me basically a breaker in Weavile and a pretty bulky stallmon in Corsola. And yeah, that's pretty much what I proceeded to do, is just kind of think about what can support these mons to the best of their abilities, and kind of just dish out a lot of damage in a pretty offensive metagame right now.
Yeah, it's definitely very offensive. I mean, that's also, so many legendaries coming back.
Right.
It's going to be a very offensive matchup.
Yeah.
But, all right, well, I'm going to let you take over, kind of pointing out, and I'm going to just do it on the screen here as you say, and we'll go from there.
Perfect.
And start building.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, I just started off with a Weavile and Corsola and just thought about, like, in terms of Weavile especially, what is going to be able to break and chip, as you said, but more than chip, probably completely diminished to the point of being KO'd by another Pokemon in terms of his moveset. Because his EV spread in Weavile in singles is going to be fairly generic for the most part. You're not going to be running a defensive Weavile by any means at any point. You're going to want to run either a max speed or max attack Weavile, usually max speed with the new legendaries that are coming back right now. So what I ended up deciding on was a fast physical sweeper Weavile, running triple Axel in the first move slot. And then, of course, Ice Shard in the second move slot for priority, because you're going to come up against things like a Scarfed Landorus, or just a bulky Ice Dragon like Garchomp, or a Zygarde that you can pick off with a priority Ice Shard, of course, whether they're Scarfed or what be it. In the third slot, I went with Knockoff, of course, a nice stab, physical dark move, which will also serve to knock off things like Eviolites from Porygon 2 if you can predict the switch or anything like that. And then in the last slot, you definitely have to go with a Poison Jab, I think. A fighting move would be another option, but Poison Jab is completely necessary for the fairies that are running the meta right now, besides something like Magearna, who can easily soak any of these 4 moves, but you're not going to stand on a Magearna no matter what. So, and for the item, I went with Expert Belt, just to get the maximum amount of damage on something that you could be quad super effective against, but might be able to take one of your attacks just because it's such a low base power.
And with that, you're getting the increase in damage without lowering your own health, so it gives you the chance to live at least maybe one attack if you get a nice roll.
Exactly. And the thing is, right now with triple Axel, like, say you could run a Life Orb, which is probably what you're referring to.
Yeah.
That's going to serve you well. But the problem is right now there's so many Rocky Helmet users that if you go for a triple Axel against, you're going to be taking a lot of Rocky Helmet chip plus life orb damage. You're going to get like 1 attack off, maybe 2 if you're lucky. So
Okay.
And then for this set specifically, I just went max speed, max attack, 4 special defense with the Jolly Nature.
Okay. All right. And we're going to make it shiny because why not?
Yeah, duh. I mean, it's pink, but yeah, pink and yellow, I think. Yeah,
pink
or purple, purplish yellow. Yeah.
That pink, purple, gold, yellow.
Yeah. It's
did you cool. Now, does it really matter here? I'm assuming you're just going to run pressure, right? Always
pressure. Yeah, there's no point for pickpocket. God forbid you pick up an item you don't want, you know?
Hurt. All right.
Like,
so
like you attack into a flame orb mon and you get a flame orb, that would be awful.
That'd be some cheese.
Yeah, that would be some real cheese. Unintentional, most likely, but you know.
Oh, that's a good way to rage quit right there, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
So just real quick before we move on to the next mon, I just wanted to ask, because I'm sure a lot of people watching might not be familiar with the single setup as well, so they'll be curious. So some other moves that, usually I've seen on Weavile are like the one I used today, for example. I mentioned the fake out.
Fake out, yeah.
And that was just on there because I just was like, well, it's priority. It'll at least break a sash,
right?
And get the sash broken. That way I can turn around and hit it the second turn as a lead. I know beat up is another one I had on mine for the if you're going for the flinch thing, which we're not going to do that here. But what about icicle crash over a triple Axel? Is that worth it or no?
Icicle crash is a completely valid idea, and I mean, everybody ran icicle crash before triple Axel came out, to be honest. And I don't run Weavile that often, to be frank. It's just not my style. I'm more of a bulky offense to stall type of player, honestly.
Okay.
But I can play in this meta, and triple Axel, like you said about fake out, it's going to break the sash. Like, you don't have to worry about fake out because triple Axel is going to break the sash for you.
Okay, yeah, true. So it's opening up a second move slot now for you to add that poison jab coverage in and have another thing.
You need the coverage. You're going to get walled so hard by with so many mons if you're just running Dark and Ice with Weavile. And flinch beat up is an okay idea. Don't get me wrong. Flinch beat up is okay, but it's not going to be the most successful in terms of actually trying to climb the ladder or anything like that,
Word.
In my opinion.
All right. Well, that takes care of Weavile. And
all right, I guess we're on to Corsola, probably.
And Corsola.
Yeah, cool. All right. So Corsola is like, when you told me that we were going to be building with Corsola, I was so excited. Like, this mon I've been using since Sword and Shield dropped. I remember as soon as it dropped, I was playing hour after hour after hour Sword and Shield, and I think I heard from, I don't know if you're familiar with Fufu, who I think he plays mostly VGC, but he throws out some really weird sets. Have you ever heard of him?
No, have not.
No, Fufu. Okay, yeah, he's a YouTuber, but he's always like dropping like these weird, mostly VGC sets and ways to interact with partner Pokemon and stuff. But I remember him talking about how OP Corsola was going to be when Sword and Shield dropped. So I picked one of these guys up, slapped an Eviolite on it, and EV'd it correctly. And this thing is a physical tank, but what people don't realize is this thing can take a lot of special attacks and recover up too, and just be a nuisance.
My experience with this mon was, I don't know, probably almost 8 months ago now. I was doing a gym challenge, and the Ghost Leader was my very last badge, right? I've got 17. The Ghost Leader was my last one, and I beat everyone on my first attempt.
Nice.
It was all you choose the format, so I was able to battle everyone in doubles. And the Ghost Leader, hers was strictly singles, right?
Yeah.
Why? So hers was singles with one mythical or legendary.
Okay.
So she had
like one super effective or something like that too, or
Yeah, yeah, and it was 3v3. So she brought Marshadow.
Oh, it's 3v3 singles.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she brought Marshadow, which that thing, first of all, that annoyed me the first game. By the time I broke through that, I had this thing in the way, and it just walled me. I mean, I was running pretty physical for my 3, and I just couldn't get around it. And then the second time we played, it took a max darkness from Cinderace. This was non-libero though.
Okay.
Life Orb, non-libero, Cinderace took a max darkness. Then it just turns around and heals right back up, and now you're just.
Oh, it has no problem. It's gonna stall out your stupid Cinderace, no problem, especially without libero. But
yeah, so
even if you have libero, I mean, yeah, if you're maxing, that's not the meta in singles anymore because you can't max. But
all right, so we have the dead fish, Galarian Corsola.
Dead fish, yes. Yeah, the dead fish is going to take everyone down with it in terms of deadness. So what you're going to want to do is forget Curse Body. Forget Weak Armor. Go for the Curse Body, obviously. Let's just switch that out because I always forget to switch out abilities when I'm on Showdown. I don't know if you ever do that, but like
all the time.
Yeah, yeah. First thing I do is make sure I have the right ability.
Or I put the wrong item, like I'll just click one, like, you know, when I'm building or whatever, especially when I'm doing it from my phone. And I'm just trying to get the spread, and I'm going to come back to it later. And, you know, so I'll just click it, and one of the top ones is a choice item. So I'm like, choice, boom, boom. And the next thing you know, I have a choice scarf, 0 attacking Walmon or something. And yeah, needless to say.
Speaking of choice item, yeah, 0 attacking Walmon. I mean, yeah, choice Corsola would be a death sentence, basically. But so here's the thing about Corsola. You're going to want to be using absolutely no attacks except for Nightshade or Shadow Ball if you were so inclined. But Nightshade is going to be the better selection almost every single time because it's going to deal the fixed amount of damage you want, despite if your opponent's setting up, which they're going to do a lot in OU singles. So you're going to run the Nightshade. I would highly recommend you run either Will-O-Wisp or Strength Sap to cripple opposing physical mons. In this case, I'm actually running both. Because again, setup is dangerous. If you're looking at something like a Zygarde, like Zygarde is absolutely rampant right now. It's running coil. It's, you know, 1,000 arrowing all over you. That's its only usable move other than something like extreme speed or outrage. So I just like to cripple its butt with a Will-O-Wisp, or even if you are just predicting it to come in, strength sap it and heal back up if you came in on switch prior or something like that.
Okay.
And then in the last move slot, this is kind of interchangeable more to some degree, as is strength sap and Will-O-Wisp, like I said. But what I'm doing is I'm running the Whirlpool to trap something without priority. This is going to be able to counter things that are meta wreckers like Blaziken, Zygarde again, like I said. Something like a D-Dance Kyurem even I've destroyed with this set.
Interesting.
So things that are really going to threaten most players in the OU meta.
Well, yeah, and because, you know, if you can get it in here and trap in something physical, then, you know, I mean, you're basically going to be able to wall it all day and have a good time.
Yeah, if you can, you know, if you predict the switch and hit a Willow or a Strength Sap, then their attack isn't going to take half your HP. There's no chance. And you can just proceed to Whirlpool, trap them in, and absolutely destroy them. And I can't, actually, as a VGC player, I'm 100% sure you can guess what the item on this is going to be.
I mean, I would hope an Eviolite, but I mean,
that's all you can,
run a normal team or something, you know.
That's all you can run this with is an Eviolite.
All right.
Oh, I gave you the spread on Weavile. I guess I'll have to give you the spread on that.
On who, Weavile?
No, on Corsola. You got the spread on Weavile, I think.
Yep.
Perfect. Okay. So the spread on Corsola, obviously you're going to run max HP, but in singles, you're going to want to run 248 HP on most mons, because as you can see, that gives you a 323 HP total stat, which is going to allow you to survive 4 Stealth Rocks entries without any additional hits. But basically, that just allows you to survive more Stealth Rock entries. If you go with an even amount of HP, you will die on the 4th Stealth Rock entry. Or sorry, no, if that's super effective, you'll die on the 4th Stealth Rock entry, but you'll die on like the 8th Stealth Rock entry. It's basically just maximizing your stats here. And then obviously you're going to go with a negative attack nature in singles. You could go with a negative speed if you're running like a trick room team or something like that, but spoiler alert, that's not really my plan here. So right now I'm running calm on mine.
Okay.
And then in the defense, I would put, you could, between this defense and special defense, you can kind of vary the EV stats to kind of counter exactly what you need to. But just as a rough idea here, I went with 132 in defense. And then I went with 128 in the special defense, which gives you a slightly bolstered special defense. But as you know, we're trying to cripple our physical attackers anyway. So if you can get that cripple off, then your defense isn't going to be much of an issue, especially after the Eviolite boost. You're looking at a pretty high 300 defense anyway. So.
Yeah, and strength sap's going to heal based off physical attackers. So, yeah, makes sense.
Exactly. And the Willow can cripple the physical attackers despite that, and you'll get a lot of recovery back from strength sap either way. So,
okay,
yeah. Okay, so this is where things get a little bit interesting, because we're thinking like, what do we use to kind of bolster the team around these two, kind of check their defensive weaknesses? Which I think we've done pretty well just with this duo. I think you kind of thought of that maybe ahead of time. You didn't say that, but I kind of think you were, because Weavile's weaknesses are fighting, bug. We're looking at what else? Steel, I guess, as well.
Fairy,
of course, yeah. And when you look at something like Corsola, it's going to be immune to your fighting weakness. Bug is not going to be usually a big issue because it's less prevalent in terms of attacking moves. Fairy, yeah, you might have to worry about that a little bit, but again, it's got the defenses to deal with a fairy, even though it can't heal up against it, so we'll have to deal with that in another way. And then when you look at steel, steels are mostly physical, so you're going to be able to deal with that pretty well as well. Anyhow. So when I think about something that we're missing in terms of our defensive coverage, I would say you're gonna want just a mon that can cover, like we were talking about, the steel, the bugs, maybe the fairies too. And the more I look at my team, I'm like, fairy is kind of something that's just so OP in the meta that it's there's checks to it, but I think what we decided to do with this team is kind of a fairy counter, but I'll get to that later. What I'm looking for more right now is just like a coverall defensive mon with the ability to put out your own entry hazards. Now, and I don't, a lot of VGC people won't realize that entry hazards are as huge as they are.
Yeah, it's interesting because I've in the few battles I played in singles, it's still weird to me to click a move that's not boosting your stats, causing damage, crippling an opponent, like at that exact time, to play like the chess long game of put this up to kind of cripple this and break that. And so yeah, entry hazards are one of those things that it's still weird clicking like a stealth rocks,
Right. Yeah, well, the thing about it is clicking a stealth rocks in singles is like, one of the best moves you can ever do. It came out in Gen 4 and it's just been dominant ever since. It's one of the top 5 moves in the game in singles, no matter what, because it's just reliable damage in a meta where you're going to have to switch to take hits, no matter what. So it's just looking for that chip. And right now, something that's really putting out good stealth rocks and being able to survive hits and reset up stealth rocks is obviously a Lando, but I think it's kind of overused in the meta, to be frank. What I'm also seeing a lot of right now is what I decided to go with, which is the Swampert. And the thing about Swampert is it's defensive, of course. It has a solid HP stat, a really great attack, which recently took me by surprise. I brought this team that I was using to some ladder matches, and Swampert O-code Pheromosa, which is not surprising because Pheromosa has bad defenses, but it is surprising in the fact that Pheromosa can usually take one hit, and it's a scary offensive threat. And I think that some people are running ban Swampert on the ladder right now because of a recent YouTube video that came out or something like that. And I think it's a poketechnician MD video specifically. But what Swampert also does is he's bulky. He can run flip turn, which is what I'm definitely running on this set, as well as toxic, just to get some chip against things that you might not be able to hit so hard, but can either switch out against and take an attack against them, or flip turn on if they're a little bit slower or something like that. Also stealth rock, like I said. It's your rocker for the team, I think, right here. Even though we are running another mon that can probably run rocks. And then earthquake as well, just to hit things that are quad effective, or you're switching Magirnas, anything that doesn't really want to take an earthquake.
And now are we running Torrent?
So have you ever used Swampert in doubles? Yeah, I mean, you could run damp.
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, you could run damp, but the thing is, like, there's a chance that you take a hit and get into low HP range and hit him with a flip turn and it hurts more. So I think Torrent is probably the ability to go with.
Okay. I know y'all like to explode a lot in singles, so that's why I was curious. But I used it in Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. I ran a Mega Swampert in BGC back then. A little bit. I preferred Sceptile though. I mean, it was worse.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, but it was funner.
Oh, I know. I love Sceptile. Sceptile. Someone in the group, Squirrel Squad Battle group. I don't know if you mind me giving a shout out, but they recently posted on the page that they were throwing out their top 10 Pokemon of all time, like just the ones they enjoyed aesthetically and battling with, and Sceptile was one of mine. Sceptile is like my number 7 or something way up there. I just love it for some reason. It's a cool design. The Mega is cool too. I like that a lot. It's just like one of the better grass types that sticks out to me. But yeah, Swampert competitively is way more viable for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I mean, I'd put him in my probably top 5 because you're talking aesthetics, looks, just that very cool thing, and the anime helps it. Because I think
sure,
for my my age range, I was still watching the anime heavy when we were going through the Hoenn region. Diamond and Pearl, I kind of slowed down on it. After Tobias wrecked Ash, I just gave up.
Yeah,
but
who hasn't wrecked Ash?
So those were the things. I mean, and then it just got worse when he goes and loses to a Snivy. So I definitely checked out after that. But it was just one of those ones. It just had that very cool persona, and it was one of the ones that they gave a personality to, and you're just like, man, what a cool dude. That's
totally. Yeah, I think I didn't watch that generation. I watched the original generation of anime, and then I watched this Johto League as well. But when it came to Hoenn, I didn't watch as much. But I do remember, I think, Grovile with, the little toothpick, whatever branch thing in his mouth or whatever it was. Yeah.
Yeah, the steak. Yeah.
Yeah, he's kind of a BA. He is pretty cool. But anyhow, yeah, Swampert, I just, you slap some leftovers on him. He can survive a lot of hits. That way he can survive like, almost two of anything with a couple leftovers, recoveries.
Okay.
And just to give you a little heads up, I've noticed that Swampert is something that is going to be generally used as a lead to set up your stealth rocks or flip turn out or just toxic something that's like, hey, I want to send this in, and I don't know, something like a Torkoal or whatever that wants to come in as a lead and set up stealth rocks and sun or whatever like that.
So one question here, just on the moves, before we start doing the EVs.
Uh-huh.
With Earthquake, what about I can't remember if he gets it, but I think no, he doesn't. Okay, never mind.
What were you going to say, though, just for reference?
Some reason I was thinking he gets freeze dry, which counters Swamperts, and I was like, I don't think he does, but he might. But I think, yeah, no.
I wish. He does get Ice Beam, obviously. I tested kind of an Assault Vest version of this without Stealth Rocks and trying to go with another Stealth Rocker like the Corsola or another mon that I'm going to mention later. And it just didn't work as well. So this specific build and moveset seemed to really just work best in the OU meta. Okay. If you can predict right, which is a big part of singles. So,
I mean, yeah, the prediction is definitely up there. I mean, VGC too. It's it'll definitely either cost you or win you, especially now with Dynamax. If you can't predict correctly on turn one,
right,
you might fall in a hole you're not climbing out of.
Yeah, and that's a totally different kind of prediction, and it's true for VGC. Like, if you can't target down the mon who's going to Dynamax and do the right move against it, it's going to be an issue. That's the nice part about singles is there's no Dynamax right now. So.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. All right. So how are we running the EBs on Swamp Thing over here?
So on Swampert, obviously you're going to want mostly a bulky set because he's coming in to take hit. He's leading to start off with for the most part, which means maybe he'll have to take a potential lead attack if someone decides to do that.
Okay.
So what you're looking at here is I decided to go about 144 on the HP. And then a 160 plus on the 160 on the defense, we'll just say for now. I did go 200 on the special defense, and I just threw 4 in attack too. I know it seems kind of trivial, but it actually could come into play. Surprisingly, I found out on calcs. And the nature is an Impish. You don't need any special attack. And you just kind of want to boost the defense because there's a lot of hard-hitting physical mons out there right now, like Liberos, Cinderace, Banded Pheromosa, all kinds of crazy stuff that's just going to absolutely 2-KO you unless you're running such a nature. And even if you are running such a nature, I mean, it's not a guarantee that you're going to live any of these attacks, to be quite frank. So.
All right.
And I know this team seems kind of bulky so far, but we're kind of going to go on with that gravy train. Don't worry. There's offense coming after this. But the thing here is this is the number two mon in usage in the meta right now. It can do a lot of things, which is really going to trick your opponent. And it's a fairy type, which is also absolutely necessary right now, 100%, with things like I said, Pheromosa, all the dragon types obviously running around right now, like Dragapult, etc., who can set up on you. Clefable specifically is the mon that you're going to want to bring to OU. Almost every time. Clefable is a mon that is absolutely spammed right now in the meta because it has access to so many amazing moves and abilities, such as Magic Guard, Unaware for the abilities, Cute Charm. You're never going to see that probably. It's a fun idea. I've used it on Sylveon, but Clefable doesn't have quite the special bulk that Sylveon has, and you can't invest into one defense as much as you can with Sylveon. But the advantage to Clefable is it has an absolutely insane moveset. So here, what I wanted to do with this mon is because I think you're going to need to be using this as a fairy counter, basically, because we have not many fairy counters. Obviously, Weavile's weak to fairy. The other two that we have so far are neutral to fairy. So I went with Unaware as the ability instead of Magic Guard.
I understand that. It lets you come in. Same principle with Quagsire. You can be in front of something with insane stat boost and have a way to counter it because you can ignore them.
Right. And setup is huge in the meta right now. Like I said, I always select the ability first, but here I went with Wish as a support move, something that you can toss off if you see a threat incoming and either stay in and soak a hit and go for an attack, or switch out and soak up a hit and get healed up. The next move, I went with Calm Mind. So when you're facing off against an opponent who's setting up against you, you can also set up and they don't know that you're unaware necessarily, unless you switched in on a damaging field move like Stealth Rock or like a Sandstorm or something like that where they saw the chip. But maybe they even missed it. Who knows, Okay. Another thing is you can run Heavy Duty Boots as an item. I didn't run it this set, so don't throw it in there, but Heavy Duty Boots has the ability to bluff your Magic Guard ability on things like Spikes and Stealth Rocks. So people are like, oh, use Magic Guard, and then you just set up on them and sweep them. But with the other two moves, I went with Moonblast, of course, to counter your dragon spam and just anything. Like once you get a couple Calm Minds up, Moonblast is going to hit hard on a lot of things. And then the last move is going to be Flamethrower, no doubt. There's a lot of options, but a fire move is absolutely necessary for things like Ferrothorn, which is pretty rampant in the meta, as well as just a plethora of other skill types that you could predict the switch in and just kind of bash them hard with that. Especially Melmetal. Melmetal's huge right now. You got to hit the Melmetal with a Flamethrower.
I played a Melmetal in a draft league 2 weeks ago. The weakness policy Dynamax, and just extremely bulky. It was a nightmare.
If you could max a Melmetal in singles, that would be awful. But I'm so glad they don't allow you to do that. That was obviously a doubles draft league, so but I understand your pain because like a non-boosted Flamethrower to a Melmetal, which are mostly running Assault Vest in singles, is going to do not as much as you want it to.
All right.
So right now we're looking back and we're just kind of thinking like, what's our defensive coverage looking like? What's our weakness right now? To me, and I'm just kind of looking at it again right now from a fresh pair of eyes, it looks like Steel's kind of a problem. Poison is pretty neutral, but I mean, Clefable's there. Again, it's unaware, so it doesn't care about something stupid like a Toxicroak or a Nihilego boosting in its face. But yeah, so what I kind of wanted to go with was something more of a breaker at this point, because we do have the Weavile. But other than that, we're just looking at kind of a bulky utility mon, a bulky setup mon, a bulky trapping mon. So it's a lot of bulk, which is important for singles, don't get me wrong. But I think I want to go with something kind of super OP for this team because there's so many OP mons running around right now, especially Cinderace. I originally had Cinderace on this team, but I decided to go with Pheromosa.
And real quick, before we do the Pheromosa, what was the EV spread for the Clefairy again?
Oh, the Clefable, yeah. Sorry about that.
Clefable.
You're right. Ooh, I went kind of basic with this one. Actually, you know what? I'm going to switch this up on the fly right now because that's not right. I switched the set on here and I played around with it, and it was working okay actually, but it wasn't working quite as well as I wanted it to. What I would go with is something like I would throw 160 in the HP. Again, you're not Magic Guard, so you're going to be taking Stealth Rocks damage, so you want that uneven HP. I don't know how many times I need to restate that because A lot of players don't know that the uneven HP can play a role in the amount of stealth rocks that you can take. So definitely be sure to do that. And then I would go with, you're going to want a lot of defense here. You're going to be setting up with calm mines, so you can worry a little less about your special defense to some degree, especially if you're going to catch your own wish. I'd go with about, I'm going 220 in defense, I think. And let's go 128 in special defense with the bold nature. And that's going to allow you to soak a lot of those physical hits from setup sweepers like a Blaziken. The thing about Blaziken versus this team, and Blaziken's a big threat right now, is that you can, if you can get the predictions right, I'll say this a million times again, the predictions as well. But if you can get the predictions right between Corsola and Clefable, you can dispatch a Blaziken pretty handily here.
Right. And what item are we running on the Clefable?
I'm running the leftovers right now on the Clefable.
Oh, I forget you can have double items.
Oh yeah, no problem with that. You could have 6 leftovers and it's not an issue in Smogon.
I actually saw that. I did a, just a little random battle over here, and dude literally had Ferrothorn, Clefable, he had a Corsola. He had a.
He had a Corsola?
Yeah.
I'm surprised. You told me Corsola, and I was like, not a lot of people are bringing that anymore. But as I tested with it, it's doing good.
Yeah, he had those 3, and then he had, what was the other 2? Umbreon. And
yeah, good balance.
Very annoying things. I think one of them was Curse Snorlax. And I can't remember what the last one was.
Shoot, yeah. It makes sense, like a lot of his team is weak to fighting, but then the Corsola just soaks that up. Like it has no problem with fighting type mons for the most part.
Right, so we are on Pheromosa.
And like I said, we're talking a Breaker Pheromosa, potentially a sweeper just because of the Beast Boost ability. And maybe I could have done this a little better. I'm not 100% sure right now because I put in a good amount of time with this team. Nothing crazy, but I just went max speed and max attack with the 4 in special defense. Your defense. You know what? Yeah, if it didn't make your HP uneven, I would just go with the 4 HP, but there's no point. Its defenses are absolutely garbage. So, and then with this set, I actually started with a spec set, which was totally different than this. But and this one I went Jolly just for the max speed, like I said.
Okay.
And what this allows you to do is to outspeed a Regieleki, which is super prevalent on the OU ladder right now, after a Beast Boost. And then the item is a Choice Band. Like, let's just absolutely whop something that we're in against because there's no chance we're surviving a hit. Yep, you put U-turn, you know that already.
Yeah, if you're banded, you gotta have a way to break out.
Exactly. And then you're gonna go close combat for sure for some more stab.
Okay.
And then Weavile, we're gonna go with a triple Axel, which maybe people don't know that this mon can get because it's obtained this gen, but against something like a Landorus or a dragon type like, so here's the cool thing, something like Dragonite, it's got the Marvel scale ability, which will survive an Ice Beam unless it's Specs, I think. Triple Axel is going to break your Marvel scale and take you out, no problem. And then there's also things to think about like Garchomp or like a chipped Excadrill or something like that. That'll get rid of easily. Well, the close combat's better against Excadrill, so never mind that. But and then if you could think of one thing that this mon would struggle against, what would it be? Like a typing specifically.
Let's see. We got steel coverage, dragon coverage. I mean, we definitely maybe want something I'd probably put poison on there if it gets poison jab, maybe to.
Bam! There you go. That's exactly the correct answer. It does get poison jab, and you can throw that on there.
Okay.
For those fairies that are going to want to switch in, no doubt.
Heard.
Yeah. And then to finish up the rear, I want something that's, so here's the thing. Singles, we're talking entry hazards. We have no defog, we have no rapid spin right now. Stupid Pheromosa does get some rapid spin, but that's pointless because you don't want to sit in rapid spin and just get taken out because it has no defenses. So what I've gone with here is a Wolf Glick special, but in singles. It's the Tornadus T. So the cool thing about Tornadus T is it gets Regenerator. It can take a lot of hits. It's not the bulkiest, but you're going to want to throw some HP in there, obviously. Yeah, no need to select an ability this time. But actually, let's go for the item first, because this is the big deal for Tornadus. If this is going to be our defogger, we're going to run the heavy duty boots on it. So it can switch into something like a Stealth Rocks, no problem, especially considering it has a weakness to those. Archangel, nice. Okay. So here's the thing. We are lacking, we've got Flamethrower on our Clefable, but Ferrothorn is a problem. So we're going to throw the Heat Wave on this for sure. A Heat Wave on the set that I'm running is going to knock a Ferrothorn down to like 6% from full health. Just due to the quad effectiveness, unless it's running like an AV, which a Ferrothorn's never going to run because it's a utility mon. And as for a secondary attack to Heat Wave, I would go for, I would want to go for the Hurricane, but the accuracy is so awful that you can only run it in the rain. You can't only run it in the rain, but I would suggest you run it in the rain. So let's go for an Air Slash here instead.
Okay.
An Air Slash is stab. It's going to be able to pick off a lot of mons that have been chipped, and it can get some clutch flinches too. If I'm correct, Air Slash is a 30% chance to flinch, yeah. And then you go for the U-turn for the momentum as well. And the cool thing is this mon's fast enough that it can take advantage of the momentum. Like you switch in with a heavy duty boots, someone thinks you're going to defog, and then you U-turn, and then you can sweep them with Pheromosa or something like that if you're in a late game situation, mid to late game situation.
So I'm assuming we want to do a good amount of speed investment to make sure we can get, U-turn out when we need to in front of things, defog up the Heat Wave priority. His stat spread is not horrible.
His stat spread is great. I mean, he's a legendary, obviously. His HP is a little bit low, I guess. It's just below average, I'd say, but he's got Regenerator, so that kind of helps you out a little bit. The speed stat you're going to want to run, I'm running max timid, I think. Yeah, max timid. Like you want this thing to be fast because this is what makes the predictions for you. Basically, if you can U-turn out, if you can defog, if you just want to try and get the 2-hit KO on something, that's fine too.
Okay. So I'm assuming we're also going to max our special attack as well, right?
That's an option. That's an option. What I have been doing actually is going for a slightly more defensive set, slightly. Actually, I just rewrote this spread today because I got rid of Tornadus at some point and then brought it back. But I think this is going to do you pretty well. I'm putting 120 in HP because you need some survivability right here. This mon can take a hit from a lot of things. It would actually blow your mind what it can take a hit from that's not stab super effective. And then switch out and regenerate a lot of the HP back. So And then I'm putting 120 in the defense, just to shore that up a little bit. And then the remainder in the special attack, basically. So 16.
Okay.
Yeah. And again, this is something that's basically meant to predict and chip, get momentum, or hit things like a steel type or Ferrothorn really hard with the heat wave. So, yeah.
All right. Perfect. So
Let's go back through the team, make sure they're all EV'd and itemed and abilitied right here. Yep, maxed. Perfect. That looks good. This is just kind of a process that I always do. Just, give it a double check. I still miss sometimes, but yep, that looks good too. Something. I like your nicknames. Those are those are pretty good. I was gonna say we should definitely discuss some nicknames, but you got some on deck already. Yep, that looks good. Should be good. Yep. That one I almost was like maybe a little more special defense in the Clefable, but I think it'll serve you okay if you make the right switches and moves. Pheromosa. That's easy. You don't even need to look at that one. Yeah, that's pretty straightforward. And yeah, we just went over that. And I think that looks great.
all right. Well, thank you, Steven. This has been fun. Like I said, guys, so this is something that we're going to be doing. We'll make a podcast episode as well to go with all these with the voices and whatnot. And we will probably do, if Steven wants to, I'll probably do a couple more of these, every few weeks or whatever, kind of come back and, as I'm experiencing with this team, we'll come back and look at how the meta changes, redo it, and kind of work from there. And then maybe Steven wants to come and do some doubles with me.
Yeah.
And we'll do some doubles action as well, guys. So I will be including a link in the description to Steven's channel on YouTube, Discord, for the podcast group, his Facebook group page name thing, the Facebook gamer profile. And then I'll also be including I'm going to send this to Steve, and I'm going to battle with it as well. And I'm going to include a couple links to some showdown battles as well that we have, and include some links for you guys to kind of go and watch. This way you'll see someone who is better at predicting, and me as well, as we test out our first singles team. So thank you, Steven, for coming on. Any last words?
No, it's been my pleasure, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you download the team. Make sure to lead with your Swampert and just kind of keep Clefable around to set up in the end and be your win con, basically. Just give you a little advice on the team.
All right. Well, thank you very much, man. It was a pleasure, and we'll definitely do it again.
Sounds good, brother. Well, you take care. It was a fun time building with you, man.
Yes, sir. It was definitely fun. I definitely learned a lot, man. Computer's getting slow. And we are out of here, y'all. Have a wonderful day, and look forward to talking to y'all again soon.